The serve return is the shot that begins the defensive battle of any receiving point, making the serve return one of the most important shots of the return game. Avid fans of the sport could probably say which among the top players prefer to make the serve return from a deep position behind the baseline and which prefer a more aggressive stance. But which of these patterns is the better choice is far less understood. The return impact is the position of the service return when the ball and racket make contact. When we look at the elite of the current men's game, there are dramatic differences in return impact patterns. Let's consider the hardcourt return impact patterns for 4 of the top male players. Daniil Medvedev is one of the most defensive receivers in the sport. Medvedev's typical mode is to be at a depth of 4 or 5 meters behind the baseline when he makes contact with the serve. Even on the second serve, when players tend to be aggressive, Medvedev still prefers to take a similar position to his first serve return. He can sometimes play more forward on both serves, but that is more of the exception than the rule. Nadal is also a defensive receiver, but to less of an extreme than Medvedev. On hard courts, Nadal is usually 2 to 4 meters behind the baseline, depending on the court size and the type of service he is returning. Also, unlike Medvedev, there is more consistency in Nadal's impact behavior. That is, we are less likely to find him outside his typical depth pattern. On the second serve, Nadal has 2 clear modes: defensive, like on the first serve, and aggressive at the baseline, and there is a relatively even split between the two. It's noteworthy that players with these dual models on return impact can switch between them within a match, showing that the choice has more to do with the match conditions than any particular opponent. Djokovic, considered one of the most skillful returners the sport has ever seen, is aggressive in his return impact position. Djokovic usually takes the first serve on the rise at 1 or 2 meters behind the baseline, rarely deeper. Djokovic is even further into the court on the second serve, more often inside the baseline than behind. Nick Kyrgios, never to back down from a challenge or follow convention, has the most unconventionally aggressive return position of this group of top players. We can get a sense of that by noting that Kyrgios' first serve return position is most similar to Djokovic's second serve return impact patterns. On the second serve, Kyrgios is within 1 meter inside the baseline, virtually on top of the service box. So, which return position is best? What is best is ultimately about what gives a player the long-run advantage in points, and there are several factors to that advantage. The first is how much the position choice helps a player prevent an ace or a service winner. This plot shows how that neutralizing effect varies with the depth of the returner's position. On the first serve, depths between 2 to 4 meters have an average rate of 45% of getting the serve return in play. Deeper than that tends to reduce the neutralizing impact, likely due to wide serves that have a broader point of impact the deeper a receiver stands. On the second serve, the story is more complex, with high neutralizing at or within the baseline and very deep at 4 to 5 meters behind the baseline. This is explained by every shot having 2 optimal impact regions, on the rise and on the drop. Making contact at either of these regions has more of an impact on the second serve because of the prominence of the high bouncing kick serve on second serve. Getting the return in play isn't the only factor in where a player should position on the return. A player must also consider what the server will do with their next shot, the third shot of the point. If a player stands deep to neutralize, this could come at the cost of being out of position when the third shot is made. This chart shows the average chance of returning the third shot in hardcourt Grand Slams given where the receiver is positioned when the third shot is made. We can see a clear relationship between the distance from the center of the baseline and the reduction in the chance of getting the ball back over the net. Players positioned close to the baseline have close to an 80% chance of keeping the ball in play, but receivers who are 3 meters or deeper, or pulled out to the single lines or wider, will be on the back foot in the rally. There is a clear trade-off between neutralizing the serve and reducing court coverage when points extend to the third shot and beyond. The right choice for any individual receiver will depend on their comfort level with taking the ball on the rise and their ease of movement. A deeper stance on return is undoubtedly the more physically demanding, as players must be prepared to cover several meters more to get back to the center of the court with any wide serve. In this sense, Djokovic's return impact patterns may have the best balance of effectiveness and efficiency.